All right. Hello and welcome to the 2022 mock election debate. We have three candidates today with a lot of questions, so let's get going. First candidate, Evan Nordstrom. First question, how do you propose that the federal government and states reduce budget deficits?
Really, I believe the legalization of certain drugs such as marijuana could bring in a lot of tax revenue. I believe it just comes down to how much money a state can truly get, and every state has potential to increase its tax revenue. And really, the tax deficits, it is what it is. There is definitely a way that we can reduce the tax deficits, though.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Stover. What strategies will ensure that American workers are prepared to compete in a global economy?
I think that we can do things like increase tariffs on imports so that it brings more companies and manufacturers back over to America, and that way we have more jobs, and more jobs the better, and everyone can be employed and everyone will be ready for it.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Fredrickson. How can the free market be used to create jobs?
I believe that with the legalization of some substances, we can actually, get some more jobs be put into place, like such as factories and other stuff like that.
Okay, and like I said, we'll do the snake draft style, so Representative Fredrickson, you get the next question. How do you propose that America reduce its dependence on foreign oil?
I believe that we should start opening up more pipelines through the United States. That way we can get more jobs into America and overall get better economy, so we're not, shipping more oil from other countries like Russia.
Okay. Candidate Stover. What is the most viable alternative energy source, and how can Americans incorporate it into their lifestyles?
I think solar energy is the most viable energy source that way, because anyone can do it. They can have it on the roof of their house, or they can have it in their backyard, and there's actually government programs that will benefit or fund you in order for you to put up solar panels. So.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Nordstrom. Should companies be forced to be green, and if so, how?
I believe certain companies should be forced to go green, as the amount of pollution that is produced, unnecessary pollution that is produced, is a little over the top. Some companies, such as gas station companies like Exxon and Chevron, they produce an absurd amount of fossil fuel pollution. There's not much that you can do to change that. Other companies that produce certain like water bottles or pop cans, I believe that we can do a more recyclable version of those products, and yeah.
Okay, thank you, candidate. And again, snake draft style, you get the next question right away. In your job as POTUS, you will be responsible for managing one of the largest annual budgets in the country. How would you manage one of the smallest? Pretend for a moment that you lived in Oregon, where the minimum wage is $8.80 an hour. Imagine that you are working full-time for minimum wage. Your annual income before taxes would be $18,304. This would give you a monthly salary of $1,525.33. If you were so lucky as to find an apartment for $650 a month and rode the bus to and from work every day, that would give you $787.83 for all of your expenses. How would you manage that budget? What would you do, if anything, to get assistance?
Well, if I had a smaller budget and I had to manage that budget with the basic necessities and I needed help with that, really it would be to seek assistance from the government, really. We need to get more government subsidies, more help to people that can't make ends meet. Families that have, multiple children, families that have multiple jobs, people that need money and they're trying to get money, and really, if they're struggling to get it, they should have help from the government.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Stover. President Reagan cut taxes and quadrupled the national debt. President Clinton raised taxes and started paying down the national debt. President Bush cut taxes and doubled the national debt again. President Obama extended those tax cuts and has proposed to keep most of them in place. while the national debt doubled again. What makes you think that tax cuts won't make the deficit continue to increase exponentially?
Could you repeat the question?
How are you going to get more continuity with our budget? Okay, tax cuts every 2 to 4 years for different people obviously hasn't been working.
Well, actually, I think that we need to look into more tax bracketing, and I want to get a team on it and really revamp that whole process and pull more taxes from people that can afford it and stop taking money from people that can't. And that way, I don't know, that's just the best way to do it if you ask me.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Last question for this round, and then we'll take a short break. Candidate Frederickson, the government serves as a risk-sharing mechanism. Our tax dollars are pooled to protect individuals and communities against unforeseen catastrophes, be they medical, environmental, or financial. Is this an appropriate function for government? By what principles should the appropriate breadth and subject area of this risk collectivization be defined? Are there specific areas where the government is providing too much insurance? Are there areas where it is not providing enough?
So when I hear this question, I think about like the high risk areas, like the coast, especially when it comes to like environmental needs, as like hurricanes and stuff like that, or like the Midwest, like where we're at right now, with tornadoes. I believe that trying to set up more buildings and stuff like that for people who aren't, they don't have a whole lot, they don't have like a basement, let's say they live in a trailer house, especially on the coasts. We can build more buildings so they're in need for those who need it, and if they don't have any good places like that. Can you repeat the other stuff for me, please?
As far as risk collectivization, the government is taking a lot of risk by taking in all the taxes and then spending that. Okay, are we to give people their taxes and let them spend it, or keep it in that big pool and keep spending it how they have been?
I believe that the people need to get their money back. They need to spend it how they're spending it. This is a free country, They need to spend it on the stuff they need, like groceries for their kids, schooling, affordable, care for themselves. So I believe that it should be for them and not for the government.
Okay, thank you, candidates. We'll be right back after these short commercial breaks.
Are you okay?
I don't
Don't worry. I'm running for president of the United States. I'll help you out.
That's a man of the people.
We don't know this is.
Greetings, I'm Levi Stover, and I'm running for President of the United States. If elected, I'd like to lower housing costs for lower class citizens and raise tariffs on imported goods in order to lower the national debt, bring back jobs to America, and while protecting American businesses in my first 100 days. I'd also like to push to make healthcare more flexible and affordable and improve the public school systems too. This is Levi Stover, and I approve this message.
All right, welcome back to the mock election 2022 debate. We will pick up right where we left off with candidate Frederickson. How will you keep foreign nations from acquiring nuclear weapons?
That's a very good question. I believe that when it comes to warfare, I believe that every country needs to build themselves a good standing military so they're willing to protect their land. But I also believe that in some means, like nuclear weapons, where it can wipe out all life on our planet, I believe that a lot of that stuff needs to be eradicated and just go back to the bare deeds like back in World War II, before Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Stover, is it America's role to be the world's police?
No, I really don't think it is. In my opinion, I don't think America should get involved in any conflicts that don't involve allies or someone that we're working with or friends or whatever you want to call it. And I think we could avoid situations like Iraq and Afghanistan and all of that stuff. And I think that'd just be for the better of the country.
Okay. Candidate Nordstrom, under what conditions would you send American troops into harm's way when America's security is not at risk?
I would honestly not send troops into harm's way if America's security is not at risk at all. Really, it's the unnecessary conflicts that the United States have been involved in recent years, such as the Iraq War, the Vietnam War. I believe that a lot of people have different opinions on these, but I think it's unnecessary if it doesn't have to do with the United States citizens.
Okay, thank you, candidate. And right back to you. Refugees entering the United States already go through an extensive vetting process by the FBI and other agencies. What specific questions do you think these agencies are not asking?
I believe they don't ask what the occupation was before they came over here. A lot of people, they try and get jobs that are too advanced for their knowledge. They're not aware, as well as severe drug use. A lot of them, they try and work behind the scenes, you know, they get into trouble a lot, and honestly, they're not fit to have a job yet. And I believe that if they're not able to work or get jobs, they shouldn't be here.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Stover, along with the idea of a wall along the southern U.S. border, would you suggest a wall along the northern U.S. border and making Canada pay for it?
I wouldn't suggest that, because I think we have a very good relationship with Canada right now. And as of right now, we don't really have a problem with Canadians entering the U.S. illegally. And I think until that becomes a problem, we shouldn't even touch it.
Okay. Candidate Frederickson, a generation ago, we were the world leader in the college graduation rate of our young people. Today we are 13th. What's your goal to pull us out of this slump?
I believe we gotta try to make college more affordable with increasing inflation, especially when it comes to money. College, prices are going up through the roof. So I believe that trying to lower inflation and trying to get the money where it was at, a couple of decades ago, I believe that we can, set ourselves on the right path when it comes to college and getting a farther education.
Okay. Back to you, same candidate. Today, far too many students graduate high school and still need remedial classes in college. Remedial would be high school classes at the college level. What are you going to do to help ensure our high school graduates are college ready?
I'm a firm believer of trying to get more money into the school system and the education system. Trying to get more classes available to these students so they don't have to go through the extra needs when they go to college or wherever they would like to go. So trying to pump more money into the education system, trying to get those classes ready for them so they can make their choices when they graduate.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Stover. High school graduation rates are the highest ever at 82%, but they're not nearly high enough. What's your goal for high school completion in the next 5 years?
I think, just like earlier, I think that the school system should have more money in it and get more quality things, I guess you could say. And this is really, I'm really stuck right now. I'm having a brain fart, if I'm being honest. I have nothing. Next question.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Nordstrom. Today we are 27th in the world in access to preschool. What's your goal for preschool access in the next 5 years?
Definitely building more preschools, as well as check in on the currently built preschools and see how they're running their schools and see if they are still active schools. I believe that if we don't have a lot of kids that are attending preschool, that's kind of a problem. It's a jump start for these younger kids, and it's really good for them. So I believe that if we get more preschools and we get more kids to attend preschool, then I think they'd be a lot more ready for school.
Okay, thank you, candidate, and right back at you here. Should students be allowed to form religious groups at school, even if that involves praying together on campus?
I believe so. I feel like it's not a huge problem to all the people around them if there is a prayer group or a religious meeting that goes on in schools. Really, if people make it a big deal and it gets publicized to people on national TV, such as the U.S. election campaign, I believe it's not that big of an issue.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Stover. The rate of suicide by veterans is at an all-time high. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, what specific steps would you take to deal with the mental health crisis affecting our soldiers and veterans?
I would like to raise more money towards helping veterans in the VA and all that by kicking out the illegals and not letting them stay, and we have them in all these camps and stuff that cost us money when we're not putting our own veterans who put their lives for our countries first. So I think we get them all out, and then we worry about the big problem, which is our veterans.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Frederickson, is it realistic to think that we can kill all of the terrorists? If so, how do you plan on doing so? If not, what is your plan to stop terrorism?
So this kind of shoots back to 9/11 when we found out that the terrorist group Al Qaeda, who was in Afghanistan, hijacked planes and knocked down the Twin Towers. So honestly, I believe that when it comes to that, we need to eradicate those type of terrorist groups so other countries aren't, being affected by those terrorist groups. I believe that with those type of extremist groups, I believe that they need to be eradicated.
Okay, thank you, candidates, and we'll be back after these short commercial breaks.
Where do we think we're going? I'll be taking that. Vote Evan Nordstrom. Vote Evan Nordstrom.
My name is Andrew Frederickson, and I will be running for President of the United States. When I'm elected, I am going to put more money into the education system, like hiring and getting more teachers so they can get better pay, and also anonymously arming teachers to fix the school shooting epidemic we have in this country. I am also going to start opening up the pipelines through America so we can get the gas prices to go back down and give funding to the Native American territories and people that are being affected by the pipeline.
All right, welcome back. This will be our last question for each candidate, and then we will finish with closing statements. Candidate Frederickson, does every law-abiding citizen have a right to food, a right to shelter, a right to education, and a right to health care provided by the federal government? Otherwise stated, does the U.S. government owe each person a house, a meal, a college degree, and the health care they require?
I'm a firm believer that people who live in the United States should have affordable health care and affordable education. Everyone needs to have an education in this country. So I believe that trying to open these schools and trying to get a benefits program for these lower class kids, so they have needs to go to school without brain fart. Next question.
Okay, those are common today. Candidate Stover, describe your understanding of the data supporting global climate change, then describe your position on the matter.
I think climate change is definitely happening. Global warming is very relevant, and we need to do something about it because as time goes on, pollution's only going to get worse and the problem will only get bigger. And could you repeat the second part of the question, please?
Describe your position on the matter.
I think we definitely need to do something about it as a country, but I also think we don't need China telling us what we should do about it when we don't produce as much pollution as they do. And I think we almost need to be telling them what they should do because they're the one messing up our Earth, I guess you could say.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Candidate Nordstrom, what is your greatest fear or concern for our country that can be prevented in the next 5 years of action?
Definitely European countries stepping up to the plate and starting to cause ruckus over there, as we've seen with Russia and Ukraine. I feel like that's going to be a more common trend coming forward with other countries. I'm worried about China as well as North Korea and certain countries like that. They do have capabilities military-wise. They are very advanced, and so that is definitely something that we do need to be aware of going into the next few years.
Okay, thank you, candidate. Now, closing statements from each candidate, starting with candidate Nordstrom.
I believe if you want a president that's well prepared and ready for anything, vote Evan Nordstrom. Simple solutions for serious subjects.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Stover.
Well, I'd just like to remind you that I am the best candidate on the board, and simple solutions aren't great for serious subjects because serious subjects need serious solutions, and please vote for Levi Stover.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Frederickson.
I love my country. I believe that we are the people and we are for the people. Vote Andrew Frederickson.
Thank you, candidates, and that concludes this round of debate. We'll see you next time.
We'll cut the video right before then. Right as she gets close, to lay down on the ground.
Sorry, I just said a
Yep.
Vote Evan Nordstrom.